For the beginning, we are here today to speak about the project of migration Atlassian stack from data center or server to cloud. We will go through the process of migration, how the project looked like, a few other stuff. But at the beginning, let me introduce the company. We are Divinity, Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner. We are based in Poland. We're operating all over the world. There's more than 300 people on board. We are cloud and ITSM specialized. That it means that we are conducted migration. We are helping our customers to move to cloud. And we were successful with that in the past. Before I go to the agenda, maybe a short introduction of myself. I'm Katarzyna Dorożkowska. I'm head of Atlassian Services, and I am working in Atlassian's ecosystem for more than 10 years. And with me, there is one of my team leader, so Szymon.
Hello, my name is Szymon Szerewicz. I'm Atlassian DevOps team leader at Divinity. I'm Divinity for now 6 years. And with Atlassian, I'm more than 8, I think. So that's me. Hello.
Okay, so let's move forward. Why are we here today and what we want to talk about? We want to talk about the migration. So we will start from the migration strategies, then go through the phases, which one of the migration strategy look like. After that, who is the key personas and what are their responsibilities during the project? What are the risks and mistakes? And we will go through a few examples of that. And we have one case study at the end with the example what our customer gained because of the migration. And at the end, of course, Q&A session. We have a bonus for people who join our webinar. So please stay until the end for more details in this area. I hope it will be worth it. So first of all, I will start with the explanation why to migrate to cloud. And part of you probably joined us previously during the webinar around the deployment options where we were comparing data center and cloud. So first and really important, Atlassian is cloud first company. So the new products are only cloud. And there is no plan for creating new data center products on Atlassian side. And all new features are landed in the cloud environment. So without the cloud, you are not able to get the best from Atlassian. The second thing is the simplified maintenance, because when you are on cloud, you have an automated upgrade. So you are not doing this on your own. You are not doing the maintenance works on your side. All the infrastructure is on Atlassian. So this is something which is making life of us much easier. Atlassian is compliant with most of the industry standards like GDPR or ISO. So this is something you don't need to care about on your own, but from Atlassian, and the user management on cloud is much easier than on data center. Let's move forward. At the beginning, I would love to go through a few definitions because they will be really important, especially the first one. So CMA is a cloud migration assistant. This is the Atlassian app which helps us to migrate. And elaborate. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, you can meet with 3 different migrators for Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket, and they will be called on the documentation as GCMA, CCMA, and BCMA. And there are quite complex tools with which you can migrate your instance to the cloud. This is in big shortcut.
Yes, exactly. But this is a really important tool and always used during the migration. So the second definition is cloud migration manager. Is the person from Atlassian who is helping during the complex migration. This is not someone who is doing the hands-on job, but this is the person who is advising and trying to coordinate the migration on the side of Atlassian. And the second important person is the migration support engineer. This is the person who is dedicated for the technical support and advice during migration for resolving all the problems, but still this is not the person who is doing the migration for you. Okay, let's move to the migration strategies, because this is the really important overview at the beginning of our presentation. So we have 3 migration strategies. The first one is called fresh start. Fresh start because you are leaving the data behind. You are starting everything from the beginning, from scratches. Why? I would land for that in a moment. Then there's lift and shift. So this is the most popular from our perspective, because you are then migrating the data you need to have in a cloud with the archiving maybe old project, or you are leaving them behind. So there is always a decision what to migrate, but at least part of the data are migrated into cloud. And the first one is called phased. It's similar to lift and shift, but you are dividing the migration into phases. So sometimes instances are dividing. Business units are going to cloud, part of them are staying. and or anything. This one is not recommended for everyone. And before we move further, let's talk a little bit for whom is what. So fresh start is always for those who don't need the old data to have on the cloud. It's recommended for those who has really old instances with tons of customizations, scripts, because there is a chance to start something on their on something new, something better, and to be honest, adjust to current needs. Because what we see from our experience, lots of customers are using the instances for years, and they do not even know why some kind of the processes are configured like that, because someone did this in the past, and right now everyone are just working like that. Lift and shift, this is, as I said before, the most popular one. We see most of our customers are using this strategy. So we are checking what we can leave behind. We are migrating everything what is needed. And there is a day when the users are just starting working in the cloud. And I believe the phased one, what I've already talked would be enough. You can here see that the recommended approaches for the customers with more than 10K users or more than 3 million issues, which of course can happen.
Cloud have some limitation regarding how many issues we can migrate during one day. So it could happen that your instance is very big, and 1 weekend it will be not enough to migrate all of your data. So you need to separate to few weeks, or you can just select some of the projects which are not very important, and maybe you can migrate them during a normal weekday.
Of course, we also saw the situation when the customers migrated to the phased one. You use the phased one approach because they are dividing the one really big DC into smaller cloud instances. This can also happen. But let's leave for a while and get back to the lift and shift, because this is the most popular strategy, and for sure the one we want to go deeper with the explanation. So officially there is a seven phases during this project. It's starting from the assessment, then we are preparing for the migration. We are doing the test migration with the Q&A. We are then doing the production migration. There is the moment in time when the cloud is launched, and then the cloud business as usual. So when the users are coming and just starting to use and adjust cloud to their needs. So we will right now go through every of this phase. We will show you what is inside, what is done, what is the milestone we can see, and what is the goal of each one. So the first one is assess. Why? We want to understand what is the current landscape, what the customer is going to. This is the moment when you or your company needs to make the decision, going to cloud or not. If the cloud is the best option for you, and how it should look like in the future. Szymon, let's go to the details. What we are doing here and how it looks like.
Okay, so from beginning, the most important things are always plugins. So first of all, we need to check if all of your current plugins are available on the cloud. If yes, we need to check if that plugin have automatic migrator tool with GCMA, CCMA, or BCMA. And then if even they've got these migration tools, if all the data will be migrated, because if not, we need to check there is manual steps to migrate them. If not, we need to contact with our stakeholders and ask them if it's okay, or maybe we can start with scratch with some data with that plugins. So could happen that some of the plugins will not be available on the cloud, and then we need to also find some alternatives how we should manage with that. Or we need that plugin, or we not, or maybe we can switch to another plugin from marketplace. The second thing is custom solutions like integrations, like custom scripts, because we need to prepare them probably for the most from the scratch. So we also need to check this. Also, we need to check our user management to be sure how it will be managed on the cloud. Because, for example, if you use Active Directory on premise, on the cloud, it's not supported. On the cloud, most of the available vendors with ADPs are also in cloud. So, for example, to use Active Directory, you need to use Azure Active Directory, or it's now Entra ID. But Atlassian also supports different other vendors like Google Workspace or, for example. When we've got this situation with users, we also need to check if our company and cloud is suitable for us regarding to compliance and data residency. And after that, we need to prepare also a schedule, high-level migration approach. And we need to take all of the people which will be responsible for tests also at that moment. And also at the very end, we need to compare cloud plans and suggest what the plan is the best for us.
Thank you, Szymon. When we are doing when we are working with our customers during this plan, there is a moment when we are creating the document. It can be really, really long, but this is the vision, what we are, how deep we need to land and how many details we need to put into the document to make sure that our customers are doing the right thing and to have the proper plan.
Yeah, sometimes the customers don't remember what plugin they are using for sure. So we need to check it with them. We need to put some kind of description what that plugin do. And also one thing I forgot to say that plugins also have data residency. So if we, for example, in European Union, we need to check this also to be sure that our data will be also available on EU for that particular plugin.
Okay, so then we are going to the plan phase when we need to find the way to move the environment from data center or server to cloud. Szymon, can you elaborate on that part?
Sure. So first of all, we need to have a kickoff with client to discuss all of that things we assessed before. So we need to know what we want to migrate. So at the beginning, we will also set up a new cloud organization with usually at the beginning with trial licenses, and then we will going to through the setup of our organization. We need to then create our migration strategy. So as we mentioned before, it will be fresh start, lift and shift, or it will be phase migration. We need to plan these steps during that moment. We need to determine what apps are important, what we need to migrate. Do we need all of our projects? Because with these CMA tools, we don't need to migrate all spaces or projects. We can just select this one we really want to use on the cloud. Then we create a timeline, and we need to complete a pre-migration checklist to be sure all of our points are covered, and we can go to the next phase, which is the test migration.
Or the preparation to test migration. Preparation to test migration. We want to be prepared for the migration. So this is the moment when which probably will take the longest time during the whole project. And this is a really important part. And why? Because if we will not prepare properly to the migration, then the risk can materialize or the bad things can happen. We will talk about that a little bit more at the end of the presentation. But what we are preparing, Szymon, this is probably something.
Okay, so at this moment, we create a communication plan with the client. How will we work with them? What will be on our side? What will be on the client side to be sure we know when we want to go? We need to complete at this moment also pre-migration checklist to be sure all points will be covered, and we need to check that its correct plan is attached to our organization. It's a standard, premium, or enterprise. We need to be sure that a correct plan is attached to our organization. We create draft of the runbook. Runbook is document for Atlassian. We need to prepare that document before migration and send to Atlassian this document, and Atlassian need to be sure that all our plan is correct. They need to know our obstacles and problems during that process, because of course this is cloud. We don't have access to the background, and if we need to help from their side, they have that document and they can help us with easier way. And the last point is also very important, is the plan for migration testing. So the client need to have stakeholders which will be testing during that process, business testing, because without that we cannot successfully migrate our tools applications to the cloud.
And smoothly we come to the moment when the test migration is happen. So this is the moment when we are trying to do at least one test migration to see what is going bad or what is going good. If there are any problems we still need to resolve, and how long the production migration would take time. This is really important because sometimes it happens that we predict that the migration will go smooth and easy, but it's not, and we need to have much more time than we predicted at the beginning. So what is done during this phase?
At the beginning, we review again a pre-migration checklist. If we are sure everything is ready, we will start with test migration. Usually we do that twice. First, to check if everything will be okay. And if some standard issues, bugs will happen, we need to write it and migrate this again. Also, we need to migrate apps during that moment, customs, integrations, if we got something, because this is most important part, migration of the application data and plugins data. Then we need to conduct user acceptance testing. This is also very important to check everything from the client business side, because we sometimes we know the client's instances. Sometimes clients come us, let's say, from the street, and we are not such a familiar with them. So we can test it in a technical way to check if everything is okay with technical way, but need to test on the business way. Usually we also ask clients to test it like they will work as usual, take some normal processes, issues, and check if everything is okay. And then we got some trainings if clients need it. And at the very end, if everything is okay, we have all bugs fixes, and clients tell us that this instance looks okay, everything is good. We can go to the planning production migration date, which is the next step of that process.
And we smoothly come to the moment when we are migrating to the production. So finally, we want to move the users to the cloud.
So all the previous steps we've got before, we need to, as I mentioned, write to the runbook, send the runbook to Atlassian. We've got the production migration date, so we go to the migration day, and we will just start migration, including apps for all applications we are needed. We're going through that again, that runbook we prepared with all that steps. We're checking all of that steps are covered to be sure that we don't miss anything. And then we go to the migrated data. We're checking that with the clients. Clients have acceptance test, and at the end, if everything is okay, we're going to decide go or no to go to the cloud.
This is really important moment, because if we found out new bugs or something which is really crucial for the customer and wasn't migrated, then sometimes rollback can happen. But still, if all the steps previously were covered properly, there was a testing done properly on site both of the customer and ours, the risk for the rollback is really, really low. So there is a moment when the cloud is launched, and we need to help the end user to set up in the cloud, because this is a new environment for them. And for sure, it's a little bit different than what they had in the past.
Yeah, when we finish production migration, we go to this launch phase. We call it sometimes as post-implementation support. During that process, of course, we'll try to help with any obstacles with the cloud instance. Usually there are problems with different view of application in cloud and the server. Sometimes clients are not very familiar with that UI. So we will try to help them. Most of the issues usually are connected with that different UI, because some of the features are on the different place, or maybe it's something working on the different way. So we will try to help with the client. Of course, if some issues or bugs which are really exist and we don't cover this during previous phases, we need to also try to help this for our clients.
Okay, so we move to the cloud. We are there already. The end user are starting to use the instance, and we need to make sure that they are getting the best from the cloud. And as I told at the beginning, there is an option that we can expand to the new cloud product, which we couldn't have when we were on the on-prem version. Also, this is the moment when most of the customers is taking the chance to make something more effective. So this is the moment when we are changing the processes, making something easier. And this is the moment when most of the people are saying, okay, this was really, really good decision to move to the cloud. When we were speaking about the project, there is a timeline, which probably you saw with the phases, but the people who can help you somehow. So at the beginning, advocates are the people from Atlassian side. Sometimes they are called enterprise advocates or something similar. Those people are with you to help you at the beginning to make the decision if you want to go to cloud and with the billing stuff. And the cloud migration managers are coming during the plan phase. Then in the preparation, migration support engineers. You are always getting the support on the community. So this is also something you can use in the solution partners. Atlassian advised to use solution partner help at least during the bigger project. And we can help you during every phases. So risks and popular mistakes. And this is something we were trying to find as a really simple list, but also what we saw in the past when our customers try to do sometimes a migration on their own, or what we saw as a really popular mistake. So first of all, lack of migration, test migration. The customers who are saying migration is really easy and really fast, so let's take the data, put it into cloud, and it will be working. It won't be. So it's always recommend to perform test migration for bigger instances, even at least two, sometimes even more, to be able to resolve all the problems. Why we are doing this? First, we can estimate the migration duration in hours. We know how much time we need. If it's possible to do this during 1 weekend or not. We can identify all the technical issues during this project, adopt the migration strategy if this will be needed, and it can happen. We can try to do the second test migration if this is something which will help us minimize the risk. And it's the easiest and the cheapest option to not fail the project. Always, we know that sometimes it happens that customers do not have a time and have in mind that something will not be working, but we need to be there as soon as possible. And they are just skipping this phase, but it can end with a really long and really problematic period after the migration. The second risk is the improper instant testing. Szymon, do you want to say from your perspective around that something?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So this is also a very important part, because if we don't check everything proper, we've got some problems, for example, with plugin data, with all of that built-in functionalities. So we need to have that process. We need to have runbook. We need to check everything work as we will work as usual on that instances. Very often clients don't check everything as they should, and after production migration we've got some problems. So this is a very important point to go through that testing, technical testing, business testing, and check 2,000 times if everything is okay during that test migration. And if we are very sure that everything is go okay, we will be sure that on production we don't have any obstacles, and during that post migration support phase we'll not have many issues as we could if we don't cover that points.
Thank you, Szymon. Because we are running out of time, and I know that there are a lot of questions already, we will give you the list of also the risk we know can happen, but we cannot land deeper into every details because it will take too much time. So there could be a problem with the API limitations, duplicating addresses on the data center can happen. There is a conflict between the groups, name groups, database integrity, and plugins integrity problems. This is something also we face already. Some data of the plugins cannot be migrated easily. So we need to prepare the way how to move the data, and if we need to have them in the cloud. Firewall allowance rules. This is something you need to have in mind. Insufficient resources on the server. And at the beginning, we want to show just a landscape of the project. This is one of the example we made for the customers. So those things which are bolded, those are the responsibilities of the customer. So there are not really many of the things customer is doing when working with the solution partner. Otherwise, everything is on the customer side. We divided this into 5 steps because we know that the assessment phase were already done. So we were just preparing the timeline for the project of migration without the assessment. And for this purpose, it was just 17 weeks, so more than 4 months. Just one case study at the end from my side. Unfortunately, we cannot use the company name here, but this is one of our customers with who we were working since 2021. The instance were highly customized, and I can say that during my career, I saw that in the past customers were likely to customize everything. So sometimes the new system was built above the Jira with the core, and the customer already know that they have a huge performance problems on their instance. The challenge was that every upgrade when they wanted to do was more than 50 man days of work on their side. If this is something which needs to be done by the customer, this is the effort sometimes which is not worth. So they were minimizing the upgrades during the year, and it was sometimes more than a year without an upgrade, so without new functionalities in the past already. And it was really, really hard to navigate how to make sure that they will be getting the best from the instance. So the decision was move to cloud as simple as possible and taking the moment to create what's possible on the cloud already. So all the old projects were left behind on the data center. They migrated only the data they were using and they planned to use. But the whole idea was to create the environment which will be built from scratches, only with the partial data which will be needed, and left everything which was old behind. The project why? No, because there were projects which were still going on, so they wanted to have this history and being able to use it for everything they have. And our challenge was to find out the best way to optimize their work for the future and to be able to make their work more efficient. So this was a really hard project from our side because it was consistent from the technical part, like the migration plus the consulting, when we need to be in the customer shoes and understand the daily basis work. But they leave behind the old stuff. They do not have the maintenance effort currently because they are on cloud, and everything which they have in mind, like and taken care of, it's right now outside of them. And what is the most important right now, after the few months after the migration, they know that the instance is adjusting to their current needs, not the past one. So this is really important because the migration can be a starting point for building something else, something better for the company. And we always have this in mind when we are working with our customers. So I am getting back to the bonus because we know that migration sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes there are problems. The customers are coming to us and asking how to start, how to plan it. And just because we know that this can be hard, we can offer to every person who take part in this migration 2 hours bonus session with Szymon or other technical people to make through the most popular thing, like how to start just the Q&A session or general overview of the project you have. So if any of you will love to take this opportunity, then please reach out to my email. It's put it here, and I believe that the moderators will also put it on the Slack, on the chat. Sorry, using Slack is something. Every chat for me is a Slack. So guys, just to make sure we'll answer as many questions as possible, we want to go to the Q&A. We need to enter the 12, so I hope every of the question will be answered. If not, then please reach out to us after the migration, after the webinar, and we will try to cover the question. Szymon, I believe I will be reading the question and you will be answering. Sure. So first one, does lift and shift approach assume migrating only part of the data?
Yeah, we don't migrate all of the data. We can just select, for example, for Jira specific projects we want to migrate. We don't need to migrate all of our projects. Also, we can select spaces from Confluence, which we want to migrate, but we cannot select, for example, which workflow we need to be migrated. When we take a project, we will migrate all of that stuff around that project with custom fields, with workflow, with statuses, all of that things related to that.
But is it possible to migrate everything as it is right now?
As we say, for the bundled functionality in data, yes. As we talk about plugins data, it's not that obvious because of the difference of the plugins in the cloud.
Okay. Thank you very much. If Active Directory is not available in cloud, then what is the alternative to manage user license?
So on the cloud, we've got an app called Atlassian Cloud, which will manage that users for us. And to that app, we can connect, as I say before, Entra ID, which is a replacement for Active Directory on-premise in cloud. And we can also choose Okta and login Google Workspace. And with that Atlassian Cloud, we can manage users in more complex way.
Thank you very much. What's the ideal or maximum issue count for migration for one weekend?
It depends not always it depends about size of number of issues, but also of size of the attachments. So it always depends. You can migrate attachments before migration. We've got such a functionalities in GCMA and CCMA. But if we talk of issues without plugin data, without attachments, I think 1 million to maybe to 2. It depends of also how Atlassian servers work during the weekend. It's the maximum size of issues during the weekend.
Okay, perfect. Will the presentation be made available? Yes, it will be. We can share both the recording and the presentation with everyone after the webinar. What are the real pros and cons of migrating to cloud from data center? I believe we were talking about that, and for us, they are real. I know that sometimes people are saying different things, but from our experience, I believe that when it's hard to say what will be the real benefit for every customer. Sometimes it's when we are not using cloud, we cannot see the benefits of using it until we are there. So from our perspective, we are the company both on the hybrid mode currently, so both on the data center and cloud. I personally see the benefits, but I need to use the cloud for that. Okay, let's move forward. There's still a lot of questions to be answered. In case of having our own plugins created, how to ensure that the plugin will work every time Atlassian upgrades the version in cloud?
It's a very interesting question, but I'm not developer, so I think I cannot answer you about that question. But if you contact us, I'm pretty sure our developers can help you with that.
Yes. Also, what I want to mention is that we see that most of the customers who are migrating to cloud decide not to use their own plugins or use it in a really restricted scope of use. That's why there is much easier to be able to have them working after every upgrade. And maybe worth to mention that if you are on a premium plan or enterprise, you can postpone the automatic upgrades, which Atlassian is doing up to 4 weeks. Am I right, Shimon? Okay. So this is always a time you can take to be able to test everything and to see if then the plugin will be work after the upgrade. What's the limitation to move issues to the cloud? Do you have a number? So in general, I believe, Shimon, this is a question about in general how many issues we can have in cloud.
There is no limitation from Atlassian, at least for that moment. In standard plan, you've got limitation related to attachments, but number of issues are not a limitation as far as I know. Of course, if you got a lot of issues, it could be a problem with performance of that instance, especially if you get lower tier plans. But it depends. If you've got a very big instance, it's very important, as we mentioned before, doing test migration phase to check it how it's work on your own projects, because projects are different. One could work better, one could work not such efficiency as on the data center, for example. So we need to check all of that thing during that test migration first.
Okay, so the next one, what is the main factor for the time needed for the migration run? Can there be a separation between attachment and issue data?
Yeah, I think I mentioned that before, that if we want to do that process faster, 1 week before, for example, we can start attachment migration, because sometimes clients got a lot of attachments, even 1 terabytes within such instances. So you can start, for example, 1 week before, only that attachments, and during production migration, only attachments which will be new will be migrated to the cloud.
Okay, the next one. Is it possible to select which version we want to use on cloud? For example, can I use only LTS versions?
So on the cloud, there is no such a thing as LTS version. In premium and enterprise plan, you can select your track, which you are using, because you can select plan for new features, but they are not always very complex tested. So I not recommend that plan. You've got regular track, and you can have track which you can postpone to 4 weeks, the newest versions.
Okay, what is the ideal attachment count and total size of migration?
Attachment count, there is no limitation for that except of a standard plan, because on standard plan you can only migrate 250 gigabytes of the data. In premium and enterprise, we don't have limitations for attachments.
Okay, so there is a long one. I will probably, if we miss something, then I will ask you one more time. Is there any private cloud models? For example, for JSM, how we can eliminate users from not our company for issue create without the license cost, I mean.
I'm not sure.
So the first part is connected with the private cloud model. So Atlassian Cloud is not a private cloud. I believe this is the question. And the second part, how we can eliminate users not from our company for issue create, for example, on JSM.
I think it depends of how permissions created on the particular project. It's always about permissions, because you can create separate service desk instances, and you can put some of that external users to that separate instances. But if you've got good project permission, I think you don't need to do that.
Okay, let's move to the next one. We moved from cloud to data center because of the automatic updates without our knowledge. And they were killing our scripts and were loading that were loading or downloading data to our CRM system from time to time. Is there a solution for this so that the updates are done with our knowledge so that we can prepare for reaction? For example, script updates.
So we can only postpone that upgrades, as I mentioned before. If we choose that track when we skipped our upgrades for 4 weeks, then we can prepare in that time for that updates, but there is no other way at this moment to check it. Maybe you can create separate instance with this track, which you have a newest version at the first place, and you can check these scripts maybe on that instance. This is the way.
Okay, so question from my side, can a sandbox be used for that?
Yes.
Or the sandbox will be at the same version at the production?
No, we can choose this track for sandbox also.
Okay. How long data center will be supported by Atlassian? And to be honest, I don't know how to answer this question. From what we know as a partners, there is no plan for sunsetting data center at all. We are hearing that there are a lot of customers who will be for a really, really long time on the data center. This is connected mostly with the highly regulated industries where there are specific security or legal requirements where Atlassian cannot meet them in the full scope. So for now, there are no plans for sunsetting data center. And I believe this will not happen for at least next few years. Okay, the next one. Are there any option to create a copy of our production environment in cloud as a test to make any test before upgrade to the newer version?
So you can do that in 2 ways. First of all is sandbox instances, which is available on premium and enterprise plan. With 3 clicks, you can create new sandbox instances and you can copy data from production directly to that sandbox. The limitation is only plugin data, because for now, there is no option to migrate them in an easy way, as we can migrate this from on-premise to the cloud. Or you can create separate instance with, for example, only 10 users, and you can create copy data from your production and import on that new instance, and you can test this on that environment.
Okay, so this is the last one I see on the chat. In JSM, how is assets data being handled during the migration in combination with JSM projects? Is there any order if we can have shared assets between different projects?
So for now, there is no automatic tool for migration of assets from on-premise to the cloud. As Divinity, will get our own special shell scripts and custom solutions to achieve that. Because for now, you can just, out of the box, you can export and import this from CSV file, and it's not quite complex, but we've got custom solutions for that to migrate assets to look like exactly the same on the server from the server to cloud.
Okay, if I may jump in, we are planning the next webinar in 4 weeks from now, and it will be connected with JSM in the cloud and assets. So I believe that the deeper answer can be put then with other experts, especially the one from the JSM. And the next one, because it's just landed, when we say migration, does the automation, custom fields, workflows, issues get migrated so that people can start using cloud directly?
All of that things except automations will be migrated automatically out of the box. Regarding to automations, you just need to export the file from the server and import on the cloud and select actor, which will be run these automations, and you need just enable it, and that's all. But all other built functionality will be migrated. You don't need to worry about custom fields, workflows, issues, except if they've got some plugins data. For example, if you are using a script runner and you have calculated fields, or you've got some post functions and validators with a script runner, it could happen that it will not automatically migrated, and you need to fit it during the test migration or production migration.
Okay. I believe we reached the limit of the question we can cover today. So first of all, thank you very much for taking the time and hear to what we wanted to say to you. As I already told you, the recording and presentation would be shared after the presentation. You can always reach out to me or to Shimon via email or LinkedIn profile to make sure you get the answer to all the questions. And maybe a short advertisement from my side. As a Divinity, we are every year organizing an event called Jira Day by Divinity. It will take place in March in Krakow. So if you will be interested, then also look for the information on our website. Thank you very much. Details of me and Szymon, and hope to see at least part of you during our next webinar in December. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you, and see you around. Bye.